The next protocol which you're going to see is ZigBee protocol. So ZigBee protocol is actually an example for IEEE 802.15.4, which is most of your personal area networks. So the 802.15.4 actually describes about two layers, the physical layer and the MAC layer of low rate wireless personal area network. So if you come if you want to know about the basic ZigBee definition, it is considered as an emerging standard which is based on IEEE 802.15.4, and it works with various network topologies like star, peer-to-peer mesh, and to some extent cluster tree networks as well. Earlier, ZigBee was actually developed by various vendors, so it created a lot of non-friction and interoperability problems. So people came up with something called a ZigBee Alliance, where everybody came together and defined standards for ZigBee. So it is now made open and global. So what is the task of ZigBee Alliance is they tell about the basic specifications required, what is the certification and compliance you have to follow in case if you're going to use ZigBee, and branding and how to use ZigBee, and all these are being discussed and developed in ZigBee Alliance. It came into existence in 2002. So as I was saying, the ZigBee Alliance has grown now with more than 200 members. It has a lot of people from semiconductor industry, software developer, end product manufacturers, telecom. So all these people come together in order to define the standards for ZigBee. And people are using ZigBee predominantly now. So it has been reported more than 38,000 downloads, and it has 30 compliant platforms. So now there is no fear of what can I say, interoperability problems. So standards have been well defined. So irrespective of which company ZigBee are using, so it still works charm. It works well. So that is the beauty about the ZigBee Alliance coming into existence and making things in place. Why ZigBee when there is already you have this RFID, Bluetooth and all these, and why ZigBee? So the answer is it is standards based. That is one important point. It is very low cost. It can be used globally. It's very reliable, and if something goes wrong, it's self resilient, which means self healing, and it can support scalability with large number of nodes. It's very easy to deploy and long battery life and very secure. So these are the points which makes ZigBee adaptation interesting. So if you look at this slide, this tells about the IEEE 802 wireless space. When there are a lot of contributors in the domain, depending on the data rate, megabits per second, there is only one true winner which can contribute towards the low data rate, which is your ZigBee. So ZigBee is a very good choice when compared to other protocols like 802.20 or 802.16, which is WiMAX, and Wi-Fi, which is 802.11. So when compared to these modules, if you wanted low data rate, the best choice would be to go for ZigBee when compared to other technologies. This slide explains about who are all the giants who are supporting ZigBee. So you can see Motorola, Samsung, Siemens, Philips, Huawei, Texas, and all these people are promoting ZigBee. So the a few list of companies are given in this slide for your understanding. So this slide is about the ZigBee appliances. It is very wide and broad range of appliances which ZigBee can support. It can come handy in security, HVAC, which is your heat, ventilation, and air conditioning units, lighting and access controls in health sector for patient monitoring, fitness, and inventory control, asset management, and in a lot of places which you name it, you will have ZigBee coming in handy in use. So this is a very simple slide which explains about the basic ZigBee applications. So this slide explains about some application profiles like home automation. In home automation, you can have your light switches being controlled using ZigBee, thermostats, window shades, heating units, and whatever you wanted to automate in your home. you can still have Zigbee as one of your best choices. So not only in your home, you can also have your Zigbee in industrial units, industrial plant monitoring. So you can have your temperatures being monitored, pressure, infrared, all these you can make them communicate using Zigbee. These are some more application profiles apart from the automation, home automation and the industry sector. You can use it in commercial buildings in order to control and manage and monitor. In telecom sectors, in m-commerce and e-commerce sectors. You can use it in automated meter reading, utility meter reading. It can be your water meter, or it could be your electricity meter, or it could be your gas meter, so anything. So in that case it can be deployed, and any of your wireless sensor network Zigbee is your very best choice. And then you have somewhere around 400 plus private profile IDs issued. So this can be deployed in various private sector industries for their application case studies. This is one slide which explains a little detailed about how Zigbee can be deployed in patient monitoring. So the patient can remain in their own homes, and via Zigbee they can be monitored their vitals, and the statistics can be sent via internet to the doctor, Zigbee to the IP configuration, and then the doctors can adjust the medication levels accordingly and then suggest the treatment standards. It also allows monitoring of elderly family member, maybe to help turn on lights on or off, notify via mobile phone when something goes wrong around, wireless panic buttons in case of falls, when they fall down and things like that. It can be also used in hospital care. Patients need not have to sit in one particular place, so the patients can be allowed to move around, and then things could be monitored, and then if something goes wrong, then it could be reported to the staff nearby. So it offers good service. It helps offers good service with a reduced cost, with a much more of freedom to the patient and increased comfort level. So this is a slide which explains about commercial lighting, wireless lighting control. You can use it in buildings to have the what can I say, the power consumption being utilized properly. There's no wastage. You can reduce a lot of, you can have a company save a lot of money by having an automated unit using your Zigbee controlled smart lights. So the proper definition of IEEE 802.15.4 is it has it defines physical and the medium access control, and it operates at a very low data rate, and it is a wireless unit. It is portable, and it operates with very less power or almost no battery, and it can operate to almost up to 10 meters. So coming to the type of devices, IEEE 802.15.4, you have FFT and RFT. FFT means fully functional device, and RFT is your reduced functional device. RFT, the main use is it can be used for simple applications in which they don't need to transmit very large amount of data. In case of smaller data, it comes handy, and they have to communicate only with a specific fully functional device, not everybody. So coming to the device type, I was telling about RFD, which is reduced functional device, and this slide tells about what is FFD. FFD can work as a coordinator, personal area network coordinator, or it can also be downgraded because it's a fully functional device. It has the capability to perform as RFD and a little more. It can communicate with either another FFD across network, or with the RFD of its own network. So this is LR, low rate wireless personal area network topologies. So what it does is the star topology or peer-to-peer topology is the most popular choices when considering your 802.15.4 devices. As I told you, you can have your what can I say, personal fully functional device, which is your FFT, act like a PAN coordinator. So what is the function a PAN coordinator can perform is it can function same as RFID, or it can have RFID functionality plus a little more, like it can control the other PANs, okay, the whole personal area network. It can coordinate and control. It also takes responsibility, like it can initiate the communication, it can terminate, or it can route across the different nodes in order to have the communication around the whole network. So when we were discussing about topology, we were saying about the mesh, the peer-to-peer topology. So it's an ad hoc mesh model, and any device can communicate with the PAN coordinator. All the devices in the low rate wireless personal area network are identified using a 64-bit unique address, and the network, each of the network will also be identified by a unique identifier, which helps to communicate nodes across networks. This is the slide which gives a diagrammatic view of LRWPAN, low rate wireless personal area network topologies. So there is two topologies which I mentioned, as I told you, star and the peer-to-peer. So the star topology, in the center, you can have your PAN coordinator, which means your fully functional device, and the other ones which are not shaded. So those could be your RFID reduced functional devices. As I was telling to you, the IEEE 802.15.4 covers physical layer and the MAC layer. This slide explains about the basic physical layer. So this standard specifies two different services the physical layer can usually provide. So the first one is it controls the basic radio, which is used for the communication, and thereby it helps in the transmission and the receiving of PPDU. PPDU is called the presentation packet data unit, and it also helps in management services, like the energy detection in the channel. So is it degrading, or it has to be maintained, or if the node is about to die, so it can help you manage that. And it also helps with channel clearance in order to have a quality communication happening. So in other terms, we can refer it as LQI, which is called link quality indicator, which will help for good reception of the packets, which will help to identify whether the packets are received in good condition. This slide tells about the basic bands which 802.15.4 uses. In Europe, it is 868 megahertz range, and in North America, it is 902 megahertz range, and worldwide, it is 2400 megahertz range. This slide tells about the presentation packet data unit format. It has a preamble, which is the starting, and then you have the what can I say, the frame length, which has your details, which tells about the destination and the source addressing, and then your actual payload, which has the data by itself. Usually the size is up to 127 bytes total size of the PPDU, and then usually it is the LSB which is always transmitted, hence received first. So this is your MAC layer, as I was telling about physical layer and MAC layer. So physical layer we explained just in the previous slides, and this is your MAC layer. So the MAC layer is the interface between the service specification convergence subsystem, which in short is called SSCS, and the physical layer. Similar to your physical layer, the MAC also supports two services. So it is responsible for transmission and reception of, instead of there you call it as presentation packet data unit, here it is called MAC protocol data unit. It is through the basic physical data services. So it is helpful in transmission and the reception. So the first function is your transmission and reception of the packet, which is the service number one, which MAC layer supports, and the second one is the management service. So if the device is a coordinator, it manages the whole network by beaconing and initiating the conversation and maintaining. And it is also responsible for new units joining into the personal area network, or when it is leaving, it will help in disassociation. And it also helps in the acknowledgement, which helps in a reliable link between two peer MAC entities. And it uses CSMA CA for channel access. in order to find whether the channel is free so that it can start its communication and things like that. And it also helps device security. So ZigBee standard is made public in the year 2005, and as I already told you, it is based on IEEE 802.15.4. It actually took IEEE 802.15.4 and then added a framework on top of it for the network, the security and the application layer services, whereby ZigBee came into existence. And this slide is a basic ZigBee stack, which is very simple. As I've told you, it is developed using IEEE 802.15.4. So there are two layers, physical and the MAC, which is given in the pink at the bottom of the stack. And then on top of it, you have these purple things, which is defined by the ZigBee Alliance, which I was telling there are 200 members, right? So those people sat and came into conclusion of what are the things which has to be added on top of the physical and the MAC. So those are your light purple color ones, which is your network layer, which people have defined, and then the application layer, application support layer, and then you have the management and security by the sites. Okay. And then there are these yellow ones, yellow color ones, which is actually defined by the end manufacturer. It could add some features which are needed according to the manufacturer. So you can have n number of the objects added. And then you have this pale yellow ones, which are inside your purple ones, where you see those security layer and the message broker, routing management and things like that. These are layer functions. So at the network layer, you have 4 of them, and on the application support layer, you have 3 of them mentioned. And then you see these light green color ones, which are by the cutting across the layers. So those are the layer interfaces. So all of this put together makes your ZigBee stack. So the network layer of ZigBee standard is what is explained in this slide. It is obviously on top of the physical layer and the data link layer. And how does it form? It is formed using a 64-bit standard, and addressing is done using a 16-bit addressing format. The network layer responsibilities are given below. So it helps in establishing a new network, helps in new device configuration, addressing each of the devices, and also helps in synchronization between them. And security is part of the task. And then your basic functionality, which is your routing, which is taken care of by the network layer. So this slide explains about the device types, which are also called as the logic devices. So there are 3 of them: ZigBee coordinator, ZigBee router, and the ZigBee end device. We were saying about the fully functional device and the reduced functional device, right? So in analogy, it is same as that. So your ZigBee coordinator is like your PAN coordinator, which we are seeing in the previous slides. So this has little powerful functionality, which is responsible for the initiation, maintaining, and then managing the whole of the network. And then comes your router, whose function is to find the best route to communicate among the nodes. And the ZigBee end device is your reduced functional device, okay? So which has very minimal capabilities, which obviously sits in the last end of the network, which is your end device or the end node. So this is the last slide on ZigBee, which explains about the network topologies. You can see here the green ones are the ZigBee coordinators or your fully functional device. The ZigBee routers are also fully functional device, but it is like what kind of functionality you're going to give them. Depending on that, you either name it as coordinator or router. And then this orange with yellow shade circles, which are lying at the outer layer, are your ZigBee end devices. So mostly they will be like reduced functional devices. It can either be a star topology or it could be a mesh topology. So with that, we are concluding the topics which we have seen today, which we have covered from RFID and then your ZigBee modules. So remaining topics we'll see in part 2. Thank you.